Good. Give me a second to make sure that it's working right. We're live. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Uh, welcome, dear friends and fellow compatriots. Jetthro here. This is another night dive. I've got Brandon Casper here in the chat. You want to say hello?
Hello. First off, I want to say that your greeting almost sounded like the what's it called? The Hello Cats and Kittens from the Tiger King.
Hello, Cats. I
Or
haven't seen that.
no, you haven't seen Tiger
I
King.
haven't seen Tiger
What's wrong with
King.
you? To everybody watching this, I hope that you agree with me. When you were like greetings to all of you, and I was like waiting for you to reference Tiger King.
Oh
Like,
no.
okay,
That's
well,
just
anybody
me
watching this, please.
that's just me naturally. I guess you could call me a Tiger King then, right? Huh?
Ooh, I don't know, man.
Do I want to be? I don't know. I honestly don't know like very much about the show at all, so I don't know if I want to be or not.
Anybody that wants to comment on the bottom down below if Jet's actually the Tiger King, please do so. We'd love to get this conversation going.
Yeah, let's find out. Let's find out. For me, actually, I'm the
Cool.
one finding out. No, everyone else already knows, but um,
But yeah, my name is Brandon Casper. I've already made an appearance here a couple weeks ago.
yes,
We were talking a little bit about golf and my journey up until this point, and it's been good being on here, and I'm excited to continue discussion.
hell yeah, cool. Yeah, so in the last one, we kind of let's do a quick recap if that's okay. Actually, first, what I have to do first for myself is a quick moment of gratitude. So in each one of my night dives, I've just been doing that to. Gratitude is something that I found is kind of awkward for me internally, and kind of the more that I do it, the more I actually feel better. So I'm just gonna do like a quick one, and if you want to do something too, you can. Um, and then depending on how much time we have, I don't know how much time we have, but I maybe do a mantra too. But I for my gratitude, I keep like going back to in a lot of my previous dives, I just kind of keep going back to this like idea of like the basic foundations of gratitude of like I have a roof over my head and like I have a job that can like I can pay rent to have a roof over my head and I have running water and like kind of all that stuff like I normally take for granted, and I'm just like slowly realizing more and more how like important all that stuff is, and it's just like kind of hitting me day by day that like it's kind of crazy. Like if we didn't have that, the natural world would like eat us up pretty quickly. So anyway, that's kind of that's kind of a quick thing for me. Yeah, if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, totally cool.
No, yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think that like gratitude is something that we all um, collectively we don't really necessarily like shy away from, but like you said, you mentioned just a minute ago, it's something we kind of just take for granted and just assume that everything's
yeah,
going to be there.
yeah,
Um, whether that be jobs, cars, family, people around you, friends, relationships, significant others, house, water, whatever it may be. We have all these things in our lives, and we don't really take a minute to say how grateful you are for them,
yeah,
and let either the person know or just even self-reflection, just like inward reflection of like, holy cow, like I get to live in this house, and holy cow, I get to like go turn my faucet on and water comes out.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
right, it's just little things that we inherently take for granted that if you really take a second and acknowledge the things around you, you really get to see how beautiful like life can be and life is.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. Um, cool. yeah, I feel kind of a little bit better about my life and my day.
Nice.
I can feel my shoulders kind of releasing a little bit, so that's good.
That's it.
Um, yeah. So let's dive into you, bro.
Hmm.
So like the last stream that we did, we kind of just had like a little kind of an overview. Can we do a quick review? Can we
Sure.
do a super
Yeah.
quick one?
No, we just essentially talked about. So I'm obviously big into sport of golf. I
Yeah.
have loved it. Not my entire life. I kind of went through ups and downs with it. Didn't I tried out for my high school team, didn't make it. Kind of fell out of it for a little while. And picked it back up in college. Kind of just like to kind of go back a little bit further than high school. Like you and I, we grew up together, and we spent a lot of time like chipping balls, hitting balls in the front yard.
We did.
Yeah, so like we did a lot of that together. That kind of like started it, like kind of started the fire.
Yeah.
Tried out for my high school team, and I sucked. You made it, and I sucked.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, and so I kind of quit for a while just because I didn't. I was like, I'm not any good at this. I need to figure something else out. And so, um, randomly went back to it in college. Buddy called me up and said, "Hey, let's play in this little local golf tournament here." And I'm like, "Bro, like, no shot."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did it anyways. Ended up catching the bug, fell in love with it. Got a job in the golf business, and just kind of went from there. Practiced my little butt off, and ultimately ended up playing in a bunch of tournaments, trying to get better. And yeah, like I guess this last couple of years, I moved to Alabama, became a golf professional there, and kind of just played a ton of golf. Got even better. Came back to Utah and started playing in a ton of tournaments, and I've recently started seeing a lot of success in that.
Yeah.
Took third place in the West Bountiful Amateur the other day.
Yeah. Shout
Took
out.
was a few shots away from qualifying for the United States Open that's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I got into the state amateur. So I'm just seeing all this stuff just kind of happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a cool moment because I can look back and see my journey as a whole, and just know that like it's one of those moments that like hard work really does pay off.
Yeah.
It may not feel like it in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I know that there were times. I mean, it's been 7 years since I started this journey, and there were times where I'm like, I should just quit, and I never did.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I can look back now and say, like, I'm very close to making this like an actual thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been here had I not just kept pushing through those plateaus.
So I want to dive into your brain about this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure out, because it's so fascinating to me, first of all, how you landed on golf. Like knowing your story, like your whole story, like you said, like, kind of started out with golf as like a fun thing as a kid, and then you went into golf in like high school, but you sucked. But then you found golf and you just stuck with it. But I want to find out more so, like you said, just like you said, in the last 7 years or so, you've wanted to quit a bunch, but you just haven't. So I'm so curious as to like, walk me through like a day where you're like, why am I even golfing? Why am I doing this? Well, this is stupid. Why am I even like playing this? But you still went out and practiced anyway.
Yeah, I think like it has to go back to something where it's hard for me to put into words. So, like when you're doing something that you don't want to do, like say you're in two different classes, and one's a history class and one's a math class.
Uh-huh.
If you are inherently not passionate about math, you obviously like when you're doing it, you have a you get a bad feeling. You're just like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want to be here.
Yeah.
It's not interesting to me. And then when you're in the history class, I bias because I love history, but
Yeah,
but
what do you
if
have?
you're in the history class,
Two master's degrees or something in history?
Yeah, that's I mean, come on, just small
Quit being
stuff.
humble. Quit being humble.
um, and so if you're in the history class and you love history, you're gonna like no matter how hard it is, and like you could be to the point of almost failure, but you're still gonna like love it because you just
Interesting.
get that good feeling inside of you, you know? Like, and it's
Yeah.
hard to explain. Like, you can't explain it, but like when you find your thing, it's hard to deny that. And
Yeah.
that comes back to like it can almost come back to like an energy conversation where
Mm.
you you feel like that inner like energy where it's like I'm drawn to this. I can't really say why, but like I when I'm here, I feel like I'm in my element. I feel like I'm at home.
There's
I feel like
something. Yeah.
yeah. And like I tried multiple sports. I tried basketball, I tried all kinds of things. And like when I was on a basketball court, I was having fun, but I wasn't like completely immersed in it. It wasn't until I was on a golf course where I said, "Holy crap, like I feel like at peace here. Like I
Interesting.
feel like when I'm here, I feel like nothing else out there matters and I can put my cell phone away and I can just be completely immersed in this and
Wild.
enjoy every second of it. And it's just an energy thing. It's hard for me to explain, but I'm incredibly drawn to this like strategy game where I get to plot my way around a beautiful scene field and do something I love in the meantime. It's just I
Yeah.
don't know. There's just this whole environment thing, and I
Yeah.
was drawn to it.
Yeah. Interesting. So you got like pulled into this tournament in Logan, and something you did it. You're like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just do it, and you did it,
Mhm.
and you were like, you just had this like feeling in you, and you're like, I gotta explore this.
Yeah. So when I was out there, I remember um, there was actually a rain delay at the beginning, so we were all sitting in the shop
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the rain to pass, and it was just like a small rainstorm, but we were all just kind of waiting for it to pass over, and um, I just remember thinking to myself like I should be miserable, but I'm not. Like I should be like completely unhappy that I'm about to go out in really crappy weather and play a game, but like I'm so excited. And
Interesting.
and so we teed off and it was like the whole time I was out there, I was like, I am so happy. Like I just felt like at peace. And that
Even
told me
though
that
it was
like,
like, even though it was raining and
yeah, it was like the rain had settled eventually and but it was one of those moments where I was like there's something about this that I can't describe that like I just feel at home.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to describe, and I know that I probably did a really bad job describing it, but um, it's just when you find your thing, you know. And that for me, it's golf, but for other people, it's like my for my dad, for example, he loves running. Um, Whenever he's out there running, it's just like he absolutely immerses himself in it,
Yeah.
and um, it's just the same. Like everybody has that thing, you know. And when you find that thing, you just completely just go head over heels for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like for me, um I don't know. I've kind of led a life of being a master of none, you know, the jack of all trades, master of none type thing. Because I feel like I've dipped into so many things, but haven't found something I've been able to like fully immerse myself in the same way that you have. But I do feel like music is like that for me. In fact, I'm actually going to be getting back into music because of that, and I'm in a different
Good.
mindset in a different world. But like, I don't know. It took me like 32 years to, well, I guess 16 years, something like that. I don't know. It took me a long time to kind of figure out, and I'm still sorting through some of that. But it seems like you picked that up uh, a while ago. I don't know, and you've stuck with it.
Well,
Like how? Like did you have any moments? So I kind of want to circle back almost. Like, did you have moments? You know, when you figured out the golf thing, and you're like, okay, this I have all kinds of peace here. But like, did you have moments of doubt where you're like a year in, and you're like, maybe this isn't something. Maybe the peace I found is
oh,
just like momentary.
oh, it was almost a daily doubt,
Oh, okay, okay,
if not weekly. Where I mean, I
okay.
would constantly compare myself to other people, and at first I would be like, yeah. I think the biggest difference though is that that question would come up of like, is this for me? And the answer would always be yes.
Interesting.
Um, like it's
That's
one of
that
those
seems like
moments.
that's an internal thing that it just was.
Mhm. It's just one of those things where like I don't know, I just wanted it really badly, and like I wanted to be good, and I saw the people around me and like playing well, and I was like, I want to be that, you know, and
Yeah.
so
Interesting.
um, I just kind of ran with it, and
So
I would always have doubts, and like the doubts cannot supersede the confidence that you have. They
yeah.
never, if they do, then you crumble. And everybody has doubts. I mean, everybody always says like, "What if?" or
Yeah.
"What if I'm not good enough?" or something like that. But the inner dialogue always has to be like, "I am good enough." And that's something
Mm,
I taught myself over time.
mm,
Is that
mm.
like there's no reason why I can't be good enough. Um, every single person in this
Say
world
that
has
again.
had to
Say that
face
again.
that.
Say that again.
Say what part?
There's no reason I can't be good
There's
enough.
no reason. Yeah, there's no reason that I can't be good enough.
How
There's
did you
no
find that?
like.
Like how did you stumble into that and then latch onto it? And was it just there?
I just think. I don't know. I just think it's been there, but it's been there through experiences. I think that
Huh.
um like there have been moments in my life where like I've been whether implicitly or explicitly told like I'm not good enough to do something, and I did it anyways.
Mm.
Like going to college, I feel like I had friends that told me like, dude, like going to college, that's not cool. Like that's you're not gonna like do well and whatever. And like I mean, I'm working on my third college degree right now. Like
High
it's just one of
level
those things where
college
like, yeah,
degrees.
like
Yeah.
it, it, and all of these experiences have taught me that it's not impossible, you know, like there's nothing in this world that's impossible. Um, and maybe that's a stubborn way to think. I don't think it is. I think it's realistic. Like everybody in this world, Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team, and he turned around and became one of the best basketball players of all time. Um, and so he also had that inner dialogue of like he could have easily been like, I'm not good enough to make high school. Like, why would I even try to go to college? But instead, he didn't let that seep in, and he just kept pushing.
Yeah. Sorry. Ty says that I'm the kitten king. As a sorry to bring it back to that. He says kitten king,
No,
not
it's.
tiger king.
I was hoping someone would say something. At least he's seen it. Shout out Ty.
And Taylor also says what's up. So what's up, homie? What's good?
What's up, Taylor?
Um, cool. Yeah. So bring me back in here. So just this internal dialogue you've had, kind of throughout the last decade, maybe 7 years at least, of just like I do belong. I do. So like for me personally, like I'll see sometimes I'll see. God, like even just recently, I got back onto Instagram, and I made the decision about a week ago. I was like, I'm gonna re-pursue music. I'm gonna dive into this, and like I have a whole different mindset. I have a whole new approach. I'm gonna do this, and fucking Instagram is so powerful. You know, the algorithms and stuff. That like I made that decision and said it out loud once, and then on my and on my stories, I got ads for a local music studio that's here, and the ads were like, "Hey, this is my studio. Come down and record with me." And they're like solid, and the studio looks solid, right? And it, like the dude was like, "Here's some of the work I've done. It looks really good, and it sounds really good." So anyway, I saw that and I was like, "Man, I can't compete with that." It's like I can, but it's gonna take me a long time. But then I was like, "Fucking, of course I can compete." Like that was my first initial thought. And then I was like, "No, of course I can compete with that." Like of course I can hang with someone that's doing work like that. And then my thought was like, "Wait, it doesn't matter what he's doing versus what I'm doing. Like I'm gonna start doing my own thing, It doesn't matter what he's doing. Like, I'm gonna build my own studio, and it's gonna be my studio, and I'm gonna do my own thing. But that it took me a minute to like shut all that other shit down and come to that conclusion. You know, I guess my question more is like, do you have advice for people who are in that same kind of thing, or how did you overcome all that, and like how are you still in this? You know, seeing like top golfers in the world. You know.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
But switch switch
Sorry.
your camera. It's all right.
Um,
Everybody, just
sorry,
turn your cameras.
do you get it?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's all
Hey,
good.
let's go. So, sorry, hang on, I got you.
Yeah, good.
So I would say the biggest thing is that like in order to yes, I compare myself to other top players all the time. I'm surrounded by them constantly. But the biggest thing, and this is something that transcends golf, transcends music, transcends everything, is that comparison is like the silent killer of like everything, like confidence wise and everything. Like because as soon as you start comparing yourself to other people is when you start trying to change yourself unnecessarily in order to beat that person. You're not necessarily in competition. You are in competition with other people. Like in golf, like I'm literally competing against the guy next to me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, him and I are both fighting against the same thing, and that is the golf course. And so, like, why would I compare myself to him when I needed to compare myself to the golf course? Um, and
Nice.
my preparation is going to be different than his preparation. So I'm not going to compare myself to him. At the end of the day, all I need to do is go out there and hit the ball 66 times, 67 times, whatever,
Yeah.
and go home.
Yeah.
And I don't need to even interact with that person.
Yeah.
For music, like you don't have to compare yourself to this other person because you have a unique set of tools at your disposal that's different than his.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
if you just do your thing and let your craft talk, then it doesn't need to be a competition per se. It just needs to be this is my thing, that's your thing,
Yeah.
and let your thing do the talking. And so I've always thought that like those guys came from a very different background as me. Like for example, there's a player that he's one of my buddies. He struggles with things that I'm good at, and I struggle with things that he's good at. And if I compared myself to him and I said, "Oh my God, this kid can hit the driver so good! Like he hits it so good."
Are you talking
If I
about
started
me?
comparing myself to that,
You're talking about me, aren't you?
yes, you do hit the driver really good. um, it's crazy.
Dude, I haven't I haven't swung a club in a long time. I promise if you get me back on the course, give me a driver. I'm
It's pretty
crushing
wild.
it. I'm
Like,
crushing it. Yeah.
but no, like if I compared myself to him, I would be like, oh my God, I can't hit it as good as him. I'm not as good as him. That would be unfair to the rest of my skill sets because I know that like I can do things well in my own way. So, I don't know what battles the guy next to me is fighting. For all I know, he's just as scared of me. Um,
Good point.
and so, you never really know. The person that you're comparing yourself to might be fighting their own battles as well.
Yeah.
Chances are pretty high that they are.
They definitely
And so,
are. They definitely are. Yeah.
yeah, like there are things where like we don't know what's going on the other side. So like why would I spend my time worrying about that when I could just worry about what's inside of me and perform to the best of my abilities, take myself to that stage and then whatever happens happens,
Yeah.
you know? Like
Yeah.
if I blow up, that's one of the things that I love about golf is that when I show up to the golf course, if I bring it, then that's all I need is I bring it. Like I don't have to rely on anybody else. It's an internal dialogue of me. And if I show up and I don't bring it, then I don't bring it, and then I just go home and start again. You know.
I think you mentioned this last time. Like, golf is different than something like basketball because basketball's team sport, and like if you bring it but your teammates don't, then it's it's like fucked. But if in golf, if it's all you, it's 100% you.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just a different.
Right.
It's a different game. So how do you like? So you have all these mindsets, you have all these like views, and kind of just about golf. But how does that like shift into like just your life in general? Like how do you view things in general, like daily experiences, relationships with family members, spouses, things like how do you like how do you bring this mindset into like a daily life and like approach life in general?
I think in one line, I can encompass it all, and I mean we can unpackage it as much as you want, but I think in one line, it is that like human beings, like we're all capable of doing hard things.
Mm.
Um, like
Mm.
things may be hard, but I mean eh, they're they're not impossible. Like no matter what you look at in life, I feel like there's always either a way out or there's always a way through. Um,
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
I think that applies to almost everything in life. Is there's always a way out and there's always a way through.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting. Always a
yeah,
way out or always a way through. And you mostly choose a way through, it seems like. Or
yeah. I just feel like it's one of those things where like if I want something, like whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whatever, like I feel like okay, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how. Like when I chose golf, for example, it's not like should I do this? It was a matter of how do I go about doing this?
mm,
Like it's that mindset of like my mind's already made up, so let's
yeah.
figure out a way through.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna back out of this. Like there's some times where I'll even sign up for tournaments without even thinking about it, just because I know I'll talk myself out of it. And so like for example the U.S. Open qualifier I signed up for,
Yeah.
I could have easily been like, I'm not ready for it,
Yeah.
like I'm just
That's
not
true.
ready.
That's true.
But
That's true.
I literally, as soon as it came into my head, I pulled out my laptop and signed up for it. And then the next 2 months after that, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready, but the decision's already made,
But
so
I'm
let's figure out a
here.
way through.
I'm here. Wow. Wow.
And
That
so,
is perfect. I was going to ask. Yeah, cuz like I'll have those moments where I'm like, oh, dude, this idea pops in my head of something I want to do, and I'm like
mhm,
gung ho about it for 6 weeks. And then after like
yeah,
dude, after like 6 weeks, I'm like, I kind of got what I wanted out of this. You know what I mean? And then I'll like, and then I'll talk myself out of it.
uh-huh,
You know.
yeah.
So
And well, it's tough because like you get to a point where you have to you have to acknowledge like within yourself that um like this is something that's good for me, and you have to acknowledge the benefit versus like the cost of it. And
yeah,
for me, like I know that like the experience of trying to qualify for the US Open, like that was a
oh
really good
baby,
experience for me.
yeah,
I knew it was, and I'm as soon as I thought of it, I was like that would be incredible, good or bad outcome, like
just like
that would be an incredible
being
thing.
in the realm, yeah.
Right. And so before I figured anything else out, I knew that that was a good experience, so I signed up for it. And then I immediately was like, well, that could be a bad decision, but it doesn't matter anymore because I know that it's going to have a good outcome regardless. So I'm scared. Of course I was scared. I was so terrified,
Yeah, I bet.
but
I bet.
I had to figure out a way through, and I did.
Way
And I
through.
figured out how to get really close.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you mentioned, I remember, like I talked to you on the phone like right after, and you were three shots short, essentially, of qualifying for it. And I remember talking to you and being like, dude, if that were me, I'd be pissed. And you were like, nah, dude, I can hang with these guys. I was like,
Mhm.
bro, what a mindset, dude. That's awesome, because like that was such a great shift for me mentally to see it too, because yeah, you're like, no, dude, I'm out on the putting green right now. I know what I need to work on, and like, but I can hang with these guys. Like, I've put in the time, I put in the work, and I can be here.
Right.
And that was awesome to hear.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments where like I remember in that round, I think I was like through 6 holes or 7 holes or something, and I was one under. And I was thinking to myself, I kind of took a step back after I hit my tee shot on, I think, hole seven. I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm surrounded by like top level golfers in the state of Utah. I'm surrounded by the USGA, which is the United States Golf Association. Like, I'm surrounded by as high as you can possibly get. And I'm like right in the thick of it.
Yeah, dude.
Like, like
Yeah,
that's like
dude.
that's something that not a lot of people can say.
Yeah,
And
dude.
also
Yeah,
it just was a testament of the fact that like I've come so fucking far
you
to do
have,
this.
dude.
Like,
Fuck,
and
dude.
there's so many obstacles I had to jump over and crawl underneath and like all that stuff. And I did it, you know? And so like I told you when I was like, oh, I fell short, and you were like, oh man, I'm sorry. And I'm like, screw that. Like, I
Yeah,
was
dude.
freaking in contention, dude. Like
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
like it was the biggest eye opener for me. Like, I as soon as I did that, I was like, I bought a little like commemorative coin that day,
Love
just to
it.
remember that day for all time.
I
Where
love
I'm
it,
like,
dude.
that was the day, that was the day that my mentality flipped, and I'm like, I can hang with anybody in this state.
Dude, I
And
fucking
so,
love that, dude. Oh my god, dude. I love that, bro.
yeah,
Seriously. That's huge,
so
man.
yeah, like, but I mean, it's whether it's golf, whether like I said, it transcends to everything. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, it's you either figure out a way, you figure out a way out, or you figure out a way through, or not out. You figure out a way like
There is a way out or
beyond
there's a
it, or
way through, and
whatever
you
I said earlier. I don't remember
yeah.
exactly. I butchered my own quote. That's terrible. But you figure out a way to get through these like tough tests, and I think there's always a way through.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
Kobe Bryant was a big proponent of like practicing and like outworking the competition. Tiger
yeah.
Woods, he was famously quoted for saying, "I may not be the most skilled athlete ever, but like I can certainly outwork anybody out there."
Yeah.
Um, because he was famous for like being on the putting or practice green for like 4 hours a day, and being on the range for like 5 hours a day, and like being on the course for
Mm,
like he would literally be up
like
and
living on
sun
the
like
golf
from
course.
sunset to sundown. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why he was great, is because he spent so much time doing it. And I think that it's a strong proponent of like he figured out a way through, you know, and he
Yeah.
got through.
Yeah. Yeah. It I guess the first thing that like even I'm still kind of struggling with. I feel like I'm getting on a good path, but you know, for anyone in the future watching this or anything like that that hasn't figured that out, because I'm in that same kind of boat. It's just like finding. For me, I see all this, or I hear you talking, and I'm like, I almost need to find what I'm looking for first. But I feel like I'm close. I'm at least there in some capacity. But finding what you want, or finding what clicks with you or resonates with you, and even if it doesn't, like sticking with it for a bit and like trying it out and testing it out almost. But then like if it does resonate with you initially, then just find a way through almost. And just even when it sucks, even when you're like, why am I even doing this? Like just keep going. That's something that I want to like really dive into your mind real quick if you still have time. Is like
Yeah,
what
we
do
got a
you,
little bit.
what do you do when and not even just like golf, or just like things like what do you do when you don't want to even get out of bed and like go to the gym, or like you don't want to go to work, or you don't work is less so, but like you don't want to like study for a degree that you're working for, you know, like you don't want to just kind of do anything in general. Like what do you do? I don't know, like what do you how do you get yourself out of that if you're in that?
Yeah. Well, I think that it comes down to
I guess
like there's a
I,
story.
I guess sorry, okay, keep going,
You're good.
you're on a
No,
journey.
you're good. Go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna
Go ahead.
ask,
Go
like,
ahead.
do you feel that ever? Do you feel like, you know, you wake up in the morning and you're, you know, like laying in bed and you're like, fuck this, I'm not doing anything today.
Oh, 100%. I think everybody does,
Yeah.
but there's
Okay.
a certain level of like, there's a certain level of motivation of saying like, Um, that like I like if I want to do this, I need to do this. You know, if I want to become the best player possible, like there are sacrifices that have to be made. Um,
Yeah.
like I was watching this thing the other day, and Michael Phelps was talking about how it wasn't Michael Phelps that said it, but he was talking about like his motivation, and he's like, I worked 7 days a week
I saw this
in
too.
the gym. Yeah,
Dude,
seven
I
days a
saw
week in the
this too.
gym for like years. It
Yeah.
wasn't like years.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't miss a Father's Day, I didn't miss a birthday, I didn't miss anything. He's like, no matter what, I got up and worked out first
Yeah.
and went and practiced and swam.
Yeah.
And it's because it goes back to, I'm not sure if I shared this a little bit in the last video, but I'm going to share it again because it's relevant to now.
Yeah.
Um, but I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was, and he was telling me that um, like sometimes it gets monotonous, like especially like practicing, like when you're practicing, like for example, like when I'm hitting lead shots on the range, like I get 200 range balls and I just hit at the same target or the same few targets and just like I try to mix it up. I try to play games. I try to do like things, but at the same time, like it's the same shot, you know,
Mhm.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, do I need to go do something else? Like, is this whatever? And
Wow. Yeah.
he told me it was a he used to be a boxer. That's who it was. He used to be a boxer, and he said that boxing is, I think it's six different variations if you break it down of a punch, where it's like a upper like a hook, like a jab, and then like a undercut with your right and your left hand. Like if you break down boxing, it's essentially six different variations.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like, sometimes like it got monotonous where you're just like doing the same thing over and over again. He's like, but what I thought was, if I'm not here in the gym working on this and working on my simple jab or my uppercut or whatever, like if I'm not doing this, someone else is. And that person is going to be playing against me eventually one day, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And if he worked harder on his wedge shots than I did, then it'll show and he wins.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna outwork that guy, or I'm gonna outwork, and it goes back to like it shouldn't be a competition, but it is a little bit where it's like I've got to play better than that guy, but at the same time, like if I get up to a 110-yard shot over water, like I want to get to a point where I'm not even thinking about it, and I'm like, hey, like how close can I hit this ball? And it's gonna
Yeah.
come down to how much work I put in.
Yeah.
Um, and that much work goes back to our original point, which is like I'm gonna get up at 7, 8, 9 in the morning and go to the driving range and just hit ball after ball after ball. Like tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go hit balls before I go into work and just like put in that work because I know that if I do, it'll pay off later.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And you kind of have to already make the decision. Like I know I've already decided that tomorrow I'm doing that, and so like the
Yeah.
decision's already made,
We
and
kind
so
of
I
talked
kind of have
about
to like
this. Yeah.
trick myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost like trick myself into thinking like, well, I'm just gonna just do it. You know, I've already decided, so let's
It's
just do
already
it.
there. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one thing that I'm really starting to work on. Ty's gonna help me. My 20-week training block for this marathon is coming up, which this guy, I'm gonna get you out here and you're running that with me.
We're running it together. We're gonna take videos of that, and it'll be an interesting experience.
Yes, it will be. Yes, it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ty's gonna help me build a training block, and the way he describes it is like if you have everything laid out already for you, then all you have to do is execute.
Hmm.
And it's the same concept as what you're saying. Like if the decision is already made, then all you have to do is just do it. And that's a concept that is pretty new to me, actually.
Yep.
Um,
And that's something that I learned through like golf, I think, is like I could sit and talk myself out of it constantly, but like once I've decided like, you know what, like I'm playing in this golf tournament, then it's a matter of like I can't withdraw. So like my only way is to like, I mean, I've got to go play.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Yeah.
I learned that through that experience, and now I take that into my life, and I say like, okay, well, um, if I'm going to study, um, I'm going to study for a certain amount of hours this day. That decision's already made, that time's already blocked out, and so I mean, I may as well just do it. You know, like
Yeah.
once you make that decision and you start to make those decisions for your future self, you start to categorize your life, and you start to become more efficient, and you become more dedicated to the things that you want to be dedicated to rather than just living moment by moment. You start to prioritize time to the things that you love. And that's why I have so much time to dedicate to golf, is because I know that like if I make the decisions ahead of time and say, okay, like on my work schedule is this, and so I'm going to have 2 hours this day to practice, I'm going to have work, I'm gonna prioritize an hour in the gym. Once I categorize all this stuff, it all just falls into place, and then that decision's already made for me.
Yeah.
So I just have to execute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I and I don't know if everyone is like naturally like this, like at the beginning of their consciousness, and I've just like latched onto it throughout my whole life, but that kind of like structure is so not intuitive with how I operate.
And honestly,
like completely the opposite of where I am.
It wasn't for me either. It really wasn't for me either.
That's what okay. Yeah.
I think I learned it through just like essentially just like making a decision. It all comes down to decision making, in my opinion. Like for me, like I decided that like
it's almost awareness. It's almost awareness.
It is an awareness, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of the fact that like I have things that I love that I want to do. And so how do I fit them into my schedule? I'm going to decide to do this. I'm going to decide to do this. And you just start to make those decisions for your schedule. And like I'm always a big proponent of you make time for the things that you love. And that goes into like dating, it goes into like hobbies, it goes into everything. Like if you love it enough, you'll make time for it, you know. And sometimes maybe some people don't have time, and that's okay. But I mean, you have to make a decision where like if I'm going to do something and I want to do something, I have to make a decision to chop out some time for it.
Well, even that, like my life, I always felt like I didn't have time, and then I would look back and like, fuck, I scrolled on Reddit for like 4 hours today. Like, what am I doing?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you know, even that's not like I'm not trying to take away from people who are like working like 3 jobs and shit. You know, and like actually like, you know, fucking busy and trying to just scrape by. But there's part, and I don't know, it's such a tough line, but even I feel like even those situations, like people in those situations, like there's got to be a way that you find like 20 or 30 minutes to do something that you want to do in a day.
Right.
You know? And I got so, this is me personally, I got so attached to, you know, like Reddit and scrolling, and I taught myself that it was my like mental relaxation, you know? And yeah, it just, I don't know, it kind of messed my brain up, and it made me think that I didn't have any time. But in reality, I had plenty of time to do some shit that I want to do. Just had to
you found that out through self-reflection. And I think that that's something that you can constantly like do and just self-reflect on, like, am I spending my time in a way that is A, productive, and B, like worthwhile.
I found that out through pain. Personally, I envisioned myself. I had like a vision of myself on my deathbed, and I was like, if I continue on this path of sitting on the couch and scrolling through Reddit 4 hours a day, I'm gonna like be on my deathbed. And I'm gonna like show my kids and my grandkids, like, look at what I've done on Reddit. Look at my life. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
And that was painful. It's like, I can't fucking do that. I can't. That can't be my life.
And then what did you do after that? you made a decision.
Yeah.
You made a
There it is.
decision to
There it is.
proceed forward and say, hey, I want to make some changes.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think I had one of those moments too where I decided, I'm like, hey, like I really want to do something worthwhile as well. Like I want to do something that at the highest of my abilities, and I'm going to decide to from here on out go in a way that pours resources into this passion of mine. And that, like I said earlier, like that goes above golf. That comes into an internal dialogue of like you decide what you love, and you make that work based on what you have in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Wow, man.
Cool.
Wow.
I think that's a good pause moment.
Thanks for letting me and the future people in the outside world into your brain. Yeah, I've since the last chat we've had, I've been like super curious about kind of just how you got into it, but also more just how you like approach things in general. And yeah, even this like quick discussions have been pretty eye opening for me. But yeah, do you have any like future things you're doing that you want to like throw out there before we like disconnect, or do you have any like specific things you're working on that you want to shout out or like throw out to?
I just think like there like I could go into specifics and like my schedule from here on out for the rest of the year and like all the events I'm playing and whatnot, but I think
That's amazing.
it all boils down to like me, I'm just like working on, I think the biggest thing that I'm working on is putting myself outside of my comfort zone. Like if I'm playing in stuff that I'm comfortable in, or if I'm doing stuff that I feel comfortable doing, like that doesn't facilitate growth. And so I know that like for example, in September, I'm going and playing in the Idaho Open in Boise. And so I'm going to spend a week up there and go play in that.
Love it.
I'm waiting to hear back to see if I can get into the U.S. Amateur qualifier. And the U.S. Amateur's in Colorado this year. And so if I can qualify for that, get into Colorado, way out of my comfort zone. But it's those events that I put myself in those spots.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time until it happens,
Well, and think about it. When you first started, your very first tournament, I guarantee you weren't comfortable.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely not. But look what it's paved the way for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just keep that going. Just keep being uncomfortable, and eventually I'll learn how to grow.
Why are all the like good things for you like the most uncomfortable things or the shittiest things? You know what I mean? Why are all like like fucking all the good tasting food really is like the absolute worst for you, And like sleeping for like 12 or 13 hours is absolutely terrible for you. But it feels so good.
But I mean, it makes you, I mean, having things that are uncomfortable for you in life, like that make you grow, like it's because they make you think. Like it kind of makes you like take a step back and like really grind it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so cool. I mean, we can chat about that next week, but
Word.
Yeah.
All right. Ty says he wants to see the day-to-day between now and all those events. So, and he also says,
stay tuned.
Document the process. You won't regret it.
I love it.
Anyway, thanks for joining me, man. Very, very insightful. Very beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Good night to everybody. This has been another Night Dive with Jetthro and Brandon. So, good night, y'all.